Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. I am back to update my Panda palette today. This is my Huda Beauty Matte Creative palette which I'm panning this year. I'm trying to get through it to completion. I am wearing this one on my eyes for the most part today, not the shimmers, but the mattes are from this palette, and I've been enjoying this palette a lot. I'm kind of feeling like I'm not burnt out on it, but I can definitely feel like I need to start switching up the looks that I've been doing a little bit, because I feel like I'm getting a little bit of like repetition, and yeah, but I'm still very excited, and I'm pretty pleased with what I've done this month. I am going to jump into the video and share with you where I'm sitting with this palette, of course, but before I do that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So before I jump into the progress itself, I'm going to talk you through the goals that I have for this palette. So I always have like kind of running goals, which is to know palette behind the palette the same amount of times as the month you're in. So that would be the 5th month of the year, 5 uses for every single shade, and then also to use 1 gram of product. So that is like, again, my standing goals every single month. And then on top of that, I also wanted to hit 2 more pans this past month. But with that being said, I'm going to roll the footage now of what this palette looked like when I first introduced it. It did have a little bit of use, of course, not much. I've had a couple of shades in projects. I think I pan on the different pans in here during like panel sessions and stuff like that. But it was like not the most used palette, even though I do like it. I feel like it was a palette that I just never really was drawn to make looks with, even though when I did make looks with it, I really enjoyed what I did. I have been really enjoying this palette, and I've been just kind of playing and reaching for what I feel like. I've had pretty loose goals, and as in like hitting additional pans, but not specific shades. And so instead of saying like, oh, I want to hit pan on Crash, I then said I want to hit 1 or 2 or 3 pans. So I feel like that's been really nice because I can kind of reach for what I want. I do of course have that no panics behind goal every single month, which does definitely push me, especially now when it's been a couple of months, because 5 uses of shadow have been more difficult this month, and obviously that's going to keep going up as the year goes on, but I do think it's going to mean that I'm getting a lot of use of the palette as well. I was actually able to finish the shade Ultraviolet. That was the first shade I finished in the palette. It's definitely not my favorite shade. It's probably one of my least favorite shades in the palette after Mercury. But I just wanted to start using up some shades, and I could use the one on my nails, so that's what I did, and also of course reach for it on my eyes. But I wanted to get out one of the more easier shades that I didn't mind being without as well. So yeah, of course you've been seeing what that looks like. I'm really happy to say that the palette now looks like this. I feel like there is some decent progress, especially on some certain shades. I have been able to hit a couple of my goals. You might be able to see the visual differences right now for that goal, but yeah, that is where I'm sitting right now. And here we have the palette. I am so excited to see all those pans. It's definitely looking more and more used. There is some shades that don't have the biggest use yet, but overall I feel like I am pretty pleased with what the pan looks like. Of course I also have the differences up here, so you can see the month to month pictures, because then I don't have to hold up the palette. Also, if you watched my last update, you know that the palette actually broke on camera. But I did fix it with nail glue straight after filming. I just like glued back the hinge. You might be able to see there. I don't know if you can pick it up, but I did kind of glue it back together, and so far, fingers crossed, knock on wood, it is still holding up. So I'm very, very happy with that, because it would have been such a pain if it broke. I mean, it might break again throughout the year, but I'm being quite gentle with it so that it won't break again. But so far so good, and again, knock on wood, it doesn't break. So I'm going to talk you through each shade in order, and we're going to start off with the shade Cosmic, which is that pink shade. And as you can see, there is hopefully quite a big pan expansion on this shade. I have reached for this shadow 10 times in the past month, which is the highest so far. I've reached for it on my eyes quite a few times. I actually hit my 5 use goal on my eyes. Or I think maybe I used it on my cheeks as well once or twice, but I had already hit my usage goal. However, I wanted to do a manicure, and I decided last night to use this one on my nails, as you can see. Yeah, I'm excited for this manicure. I think it looks pretty nice. It's not, still a little bit messy, but I feel like it does look pretty, and this is a really pretty elegant pink. So I did use this one that way, so that's how I end up with 10 uses, and that's also where most of the like visual progress comes from, because you use a lot of shadow when you do it as nail polish. But really happy for this shadow. I feel like it's gonna keep moving. I don't know if I'm gonna do this manicure like every month, but I'm happy to know that it does work that way. And yeah, we're just gonna have to see how I get on with it. Not in a rush to finish it, but I do think it's one of the shadows that can get out of this palette a little bit easier than some other ones. The second shade that I have in the palette is Utopia, which is probably the shade in the palette that has the smallest dip at the moment. Yeah, I mean, it does have a little bit of a dip. If I look at the palette from like a side with the light coming in, it definitely does have a little bit of a dip, but it's the least used shadow. I have reached for this one 6 times in the past month though, which I'm happy with. I reached for it again on my eyes 5 times, and then today I actually for the first time tried it out, the blush. I am wearing it with a different blush, like my Panna Face Fitted blush, but then I just put this one a little bit on the uppers of my cheeks just to get a little bit more of a brighter blush, and I really like it this way. I do think this is one of the harder shadows for me to reach for in the palette. Not the hardest, obviously. The shade I'm reaching for my eyes today is definitely like a bit more bright, but I do feel like I want to try to get as much use out of this one as I can now in summer, because it's not a shade that I foresee myself reaching for a lot in autumn and winter. So I might keep using this one as a blush every now and then just to get a couple extra uses, and then also of course on my eyes. But yeah, we'll see how long it takes me to hit pan on this one. That will be my goal. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish it, but I will keep working on it. Then we have the shade Ultraviolet, which I have finished. That one took me 49 uses to finish. And also, by the way, if I go through the total uses on the rest of the shades, I have reached for Cosmic 30 times and Utopia 18. So that is those shades so far. And again, Ultraviolet took me 49 uses to finish. Next up, we have the shade Nebula, which you can see I do have an exciting update for. This is one of the shadows that I wanted to focus on to pan on. And again, I do put like loose goals. I wanted to 2 pans. It could be in anything, but this is one of the ones that I mentioned last month that I would try to hit pan on, and as you can see I was able to do that. It took me 5 extra uses for a total of 16 to hit pan on it, but I have reached for it 7 times in total this month. I did reach for it as a manicure once and then also on my eyes twice, so that's where those 7 uses come from. I really do like it. I actually loved it as a nail polish, so I might keep using that, especially now during the summer month, because I don't feel like this is the most summery shade on the eyes, at least. Depending on what, of course, what else I'm panning, I might pair it with things here and there, but I do think I'm going to try to get some use out of this one as a manicure for sure, because I absolutely loved how that looked. But yeah, that is Nebula. Moving on to Mercury, which is my least favorite shade in the palette by far. This is just like black based bluish kind of shifty shadow, but it just is very lackluster on the nails as a nail polish. It's just a bit powdery, so it's not the best that way. On the eyes it's just too deep and not like reflective enough, so it's not my favorite, but I have reached for it 6 times in the past month for a total of 33 in the project, so I'm definitely trying to get through it, and I feel like this is another shade that I'm going to try to knock out soon because I just want it out of the palette. I feel like I'm at the point now where I might need to repress it soon, especially if I want to keep using it as a nail polish, because it is hard to get my finger in there. So I might try to do that, and I have a feeling that maybe I want to franken it a little bit when I do that. Just add a little bit more shimmer to it, and maybe add in like a blue iridescent, something like that. Yeah, just to make it a little bit more versatile, and I think then I'm gonna enjoy using it on my eyes more as well. So I might do that, we'll see. But yeah, 6 more uses this past month for a total of 33 in the project, like I said. Next up we have Haze, which is the blue shadow that I have all over my eyes today, both on my lid as well as my lower lash line, and it's a really beautiful, unique kind of aqua bluey greeny shade, and yeah, I really do like it. I reached for this one the 5 times. Today is the last time I need to reach for it. I have 2 shades that I hadn't in my usage goal on, which I am wearing today, and this is one of them. So 1 last use today for a total of 5 this month, and 19 total in the project so far. So definitely a long way to go with this one, but it's not one that I think I'm going to be able to like finish, of course. Well, I mean, not of course, you could finish the shade, but it's not for me. I think I'm going to try to pan on this one and then obviously get as far as I can with it, but I do think this is going to be one of the shades that are still in the palette at the end of the year. Moving on to the second row, we're starting off with Off Balance, which is a really beautiful kind of mauve pinky shade, and this one I've reached for 6 times in the past month for a total of 24 in the project. I do have a pretty good dip in this shade now. I don't have pan on it yet, of course, but I do have a good dip, so I might try to pan on this one in the next month. We'll see. I think it's still going to take a lot of work to get there, but I might try, just because I think this is one of the, well, I think this is the shadow that I'm closest to getting pan on out of the remaining shades without pan, but we're gonna have to see. I'm gonna talk about the goals at the very end. So that is Off Balance. Next to that, we're moving on to Galaxy, which is the more neutral kind of shimmer in the palette. I do absolutely love this one, and this one I feel like has a good pan expansion as well. I've reached for it to 5 additional times the minimum I needed to for a total of 19 in the project, and it is a nice shade, but I'm kind of savoring this one. I feel like it's gonna be a good one when I go back to work, because right now I don't feel like I need to rush this one, and that's why I only reached for the 5 times. We are then moving on to Libra, which is the second really exciting update in this project, because I was able to pan on this shade as well. So that is the 2 pans that I hit, so I did complete that goal. It only took me 3 additional uses to pan on it for a total of 23 in the project, and I have reached for it the 2 additional times this month, so 5 uses total for a total of 25 in the project. Really happy to have pan on this one. It's definitely one I'm going to keep using, and I will really try to finish this shade, even though I feel like it's going to be hard. But yeah, I do like it, and it's like a transition shade for me, which I do tend to go through a little bit faster, so I'm going to push myself. But that is Libra for now. One of my most used shades in the palette is definitely Crash, but I have not been reaching for it as much this past month because it's more of a cool tone shade. I reached for it 6 times, so slightly over that 5 minimum uses. It's just not the favorite shade right now in summer, because I'm going for more either bright looks like this or warm tone looks. When I go for neutral looks, I mainly go for more warm tone looks, and that's why this one is a little bit neglected. But I still have 48 uses total in this project. Then my actual most used shadow in the project by far is Momentum. It is just the lid saying shade, and I'm working through this one definitely slowly, but I do reach for it pretty regularly. I have reached for it 20 additional times this past month, which is actually exactly the same that I reached for it in update 4, for a total of 108 in the project. So again, a very, very high number. Yeah, this one is going to take me probably up to like 200 uses to finish at least, and it is a hard shade, which kind of makes me worried for the other mattes in here, but we'll see how we get on. And that is Momentum for now. It's not one that I'm worried about. It is going to be done at some point this year for sure, even though it might still take a couple more months. Then we're moving on to Supermoon, which is the lightest shade in the palette. This is the one that I mainly use for any corner or as a topper shade. It's actually really stunning as a topper shade on top of the rest of the shades in this palette. But this month I have not reached for it the most. I've been focusing on other kind of inner corner shades or iridescent shades. And I only have 6 uses on it, but I think that's still good for a total of 42 in the project. And I do think the pan has expanded a little bit with those 6 uses for sure. And this is probably another one that I have pretty good chance of finishing, you know, sooner rather than later, but I'm not rushing it at all. Then for the last row of the palette, we're kicking it off with Vortex, which is the shade that I kind of use the least off whenever I use it because it is so deep. But I have reached my 5 minimum usage goal on this one. It's actually funny because I reached for it on 11 times the first month, and after that I reached for it 5 times every single month. But of course that's going to have to change next month because I'm going to have to try to reach for it 6 times with that no pan left behind goal. But that was just something funny that I noted when I looked at my notes. But yeah, I have 31 total uses on this shade for now. And again, not foreseeing myself to finish this one at all, but I'm going to keep trying to hit that minimum usage goal throughout the year and hopefully at least expand that pan and make it look more used than it does now. Then we have Hot Mess, which is the second shade that I actually needed to reach for in the look today, and it might not be super obvious. I just feel like I'm a bit tired of this color, so I end up using this one as a liner. Yeah, that is kind of how I'm using it today. And this is, like I said, my 5th use. I needed to reach for it one more time, which I did, and I am happy with that. But yeah, it's just a slower moving shade, and I feel like it's such a distinct color that I'm a little bit burnt out on it. It does take over a look whenever I use it, but I'm sure that I will get back into it and I will keep reaching for it. I currently have 25 uses on this shade, so pretty good, but I still feel like it's going to take me at least 2 more months until I pan on it, so we'll see. But I will, again, keep reaching for it whenever I can. Supernova is one of my favorite shades in this palette again, and this is another one that I'm kind of savoring. Even though it is my favorite shade, it's not my most used shade at all. I actually only reached for 16 times in the project so far in total, which is really not that high, but I am, like I said, savoring it, and I know that I'm going to finish this one no problem. I only have 5 additional uses on it, so the bare minimum, again, for a total of 16. One of the shades that I have reached for a lot this past month though is Karma. This is the more warm tone crease shade in the palette, and it definitely still has a little bit more of a pinkier undertone. A lot of the shades in here have a pinkier undertone, but it is like a warmer shade, which has been really nice in summer. It has been really nice now when I have a tan, all that kind of good stuff. So I've been reaching for this one quite a bit. I have 13 uses on it, which I think is really good, and for a total of 36 in the project. So that is, you know, more than a third of the total uses this year is just in this last month. So I kind of double my uses from prior months. So very, very happy with that. And I do think this is going to be one that I'm going to try to pan on again within the next couple of months because I am loving this one for summer. And the next 2 shades I've also been reaching for more because they are the more warm toned shades, and especially Gold Glitch, which I have 7 more uses on for a total of 17 in the project. Again, not the highest total uses in this project, but it was a shade that I was neglecting a lot in the beginning of the year just because I didn't really feel like gold looks back then. I felt more like that I was leaning more into those pinky and purpley tones in this palette, but I am definitely leaning more towards the warmer tones and gold tones in this palette right now. So 17 total uses in the project, and I am happy with that. This one is definitely moving quite quickly because it is a little more of a flakier shade. So again, I think you can see the pan expansion on this shade quite clearly. And then we have the last shade, which is Frazzled, which is another one that I reach for, you know, quite a lot with warm tone looks, but I have not reached for it as much as Gold Glitch. I only have the minimum 5 uses on this shade for a total of 17 again, so the same total uses but less uses this past month. And it's a really stunning shade. It's definitely a different formula too. It's almost like a creamier formula, so it does move a little bit slower, but I do still think the pan has expanded a little bit on that shade. At least I hope so, because I still have reached for it 5 times. And that is the palette right now. You can again see the overview right here. I'm super pleased again with how this is looking, especially like this row here. It just looks so well used, including like these shades, and then, you know, all the pans just makes it look so well used. Like this area right here, it is, yeah, it's so nice to see, and I definitely can tell this is a Pan palette now. Super happy. And yeah, I have hit my 2 goals that I talked about so far. I hit my 2 pans, which was in Nebula and then Libra right here. So those are my 2 new pans. And then on top of that, I did manage to reach for every single shade at least 5 times, barely with the look today. But yeah, super happy with that. Last goal I had was, of course, to use 1 gram of product. So let me talk you through if I was able to do that or not. So yeah, let's jump into the weights. I will pop up the picture here in a second with the weights, but I don't want to spoil it yet, so I'm going to talk you through first what it weighed at the last update, which was 242.12 grams. That is how much it weighed at that point. So in order to use up a gram, I would have to be at 241.12 grams again, but I'm at 241.32 grams, which means that I was not able to hit my 1 gram goal. I only finished 0.80 grams, which is definitely like lower. It's my 2nd worst month apart from my 1st month, but I'm not too worried about it. I feel like despite not hitting that gram usage goal, I'm still making good progress, and I can see a lot of visual progress this month, you know, as well. So I feel like I'm still happy with my goals for the month. And also looking back at the previous update, for update 4, I was able to finish 3.18 grams extra, which would mean like if you combine those 2 months, I kind of hit those 2 grams. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it, and I'm just going to try to use it a little bit more the next month. But as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'm a little bit burnt out on the palette now. I will try to get some new creativity to it, but I feel like I'm not burnt out on the whole palette, but I am kind of burnt out on these, like this little corner right here with these pinkier shades. So maybe I'll try to make less looks with those, or make them less of a focus, kind of like I have today, and focus a bit more on the warmer tone of the palette, or like that kind of end, because I do really like that one. And you know, maybe surpass my usage goal quite a bit like with those, and then yeah, use the rest of the shades the bare minimum. So speaking of goals, I will talk you through what I have in mind for this palette moving forward, especially in the next month. I will of course try to use every single shade 6 times, which will be a little bit more difficult, but I think I can do it. And then also I will keep that goal of trying to use 1 gram. I will try to step up my usage and get that 1 gram used up. And then it's hard. I feel like I might try to push myself and finish Mercury. That would be nice, especially because we will be at the halfway point of that update. And yeah, it would be nice to have a you know, another shade finish, and that is the only shade I feel like I can finish easily. I mean, I could probably finish one of those other shimmers like Supernova or Galaxy, but I don't want to rush it. Like I said, I think I'm gonna try to savor them and use them more organically. And Cosmic is probably another one that I could maybe finish, but it will take me a bit longer. But we'll see. But I will try to finish one of the shadows, and then maybe on top of that I will try to hit 1 pan. So finish 1 shade and hit 1 more pan. That will be the goals that I have in here on top of my 2 like rolling goals. So yeah, that is my Pan palette update today. Pretty exciting one, I would say, even though, you know, I don't have any more empty shades and I wasn't quite able to hit my gram goals. I feel like it's definitely looking more and more used, and I feel like there was some pretty good pan expansion this past month. So I am really pleased with myself, and yeah, I mean, even though I said that I'm a little bit burnt out on this palette, I'm still loving it. I still think it's such a fantastic Panda palette. It has a lot of variety, a lot of different shades, and it's definitely colorful, but like in a somewhat wearable way. Like, yeah, not every shade is like wearable for like obviously neutral lovers or like going to the office. I wouldn't wear this look to the office, for example. I would wear it like, you know, out and about, but not going to the office. For my everyday looks, I kind of tend to stick more like, again, in this area right here. But it does have a lot of variety, and the neutrals in here do still have a little bit more of a colorful undertone to them, which is extremely fun. So I love this palette, and I'm so excited to keep working on it this year, and we'll see how far I get with it. I will try to finish as much as I can of this palette, and I don't know, could I have 10 shades finished? That would be amazing. And the rest of them I'm hoping to have good progress on. We'll see though how far I get. But yeah, that is going to be it right now. I am going to wrap it up here. I hope you guys are having the best day wherever you are. Let me know in the comments down below how you're getting on with your Panda palettes. I love reading your comments. I know a lot of you guys updated me in the comments with your different projects, and it's honestly so much fun reading about it. So make sure to put a comment down below. But other than that, I'll catch me in my next video, which actually will be up tomorrow. I will have my graveyard period pan update, so you can stay tuned for that. Bye guys.